Arizona is one of the ground zero states on a number of issues, not just in the immigration crisis at the border, but also from an economic standpoint. It's a state that has seen a great deal of migration, not only from businesses, but over the years, a change in an older population, and a number of other issues as it looks to expand as a technology state. So Arizona has a lot of potential, and the policies that guide the state then become even more so important in advancing the various issues that people need addressed. Elijah Norton joins me. He's running for Congress in Arizona. A lot of issues on the table, and not only in the first district, but as part of the delegation if elected. Elijah, thanks for joining me. And as always, with every candidate on the show, your path to victory in your district.
Well, thank you so much for having me. You know, as you said, Arizona is a very important state, I think, for the country and at large. And, I think we have a very clear path to victory. I think the people here in Arizona are tired of career politicians. In my race, I'm actually running against a corrupt politician. He was just fined last month $125,000 by the Federal Election Commission for several different things. But I think there's also some really important issues. As you said, immigration is a huge issue here. Our economy, the fact that we are growing so fast, we're seeing prices rise. Inflation is a huge problem. And so, my path to victory is really just educating people on why we need more business leaders in Congress, educating people and telling people, sharing the message of how I'm going to propose solutions to our immigration crisis and our inflation crisis and some of the other many issues that are plaguing our state and our country.
Let's go through some of those key issues and how you would address them. We'll start with the economy. I mean, if the foundation is not there, the state suffers, the district suffers. And on the economy, it's also in your state a resource issue when it comes to illegal immigration. The cost to education in healthcare, the cost in use of infrastructure, water, sewer, food, basic things that everyone needs, regardless of lawful present status or otherwise. So economy in Arizona, specifically in your district, and how you would approach what solutions you would offer.
Well, I think that in our district, the 1st Congressional District is very unique. It's one of the most affluent districts in the country. We have amazing communities here like Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Fountain Hills, the Northeast Valley of Maricopa County. And we're starting to see, as you said, immigration is a huge issue here in Arizona. As you probably know, last month, over 20,000 border crossings in the Yuma sector alone, which is obviously a record high. We're also seeing massive inflation. We have a high number of business owners here in the district that have been affected by the inflation problem that we have of our rampant government spending and our massive deficit. So I think for me, one thing that I can do as a solution is first and foremost, we've got to secure the border. That's something that we've got to do. We've got to give our Customs and Border Patrol agents the tools they need to enforce our border laws. I think something we also really need to do that a lot of people don't talk about, and I've had the privilege of meeting people in Phoenix that have enforced some of our laws and worked with some of the Mexican states, is having a criminal database sharing system with Mexico. We don't have that. So if we apprehend somebody here, not only can we deport them, but we can also make sure they're detained in Mexico and tying some of the Mexico aid to that. That's something that President Trump tried to implement, but has been reversed, unfortunately, by the Biden administration. So those are some solutions that we can propose on the border. One thing that's really specifically affects my district is there was a hotel here in Scottsdale, which is kind of the heart of the district, on Scottsdale Road, literally about a mile from my house, that the Biden administration was housing illegal immigrants, some with criminal records, and nothing's been done. Now it's housing refugees, and there's been some news articles that people have been going on to some of the golf courses around here. And it's a federal issue, and unfortunately our current congressman has done nothing about it. And my hope is by the time I get elected that it's out of this community. But if it's not, that's a huge thing that I'm going to focus on for the people of my district. As far as inflation is concerned, I'm a business owner. I started a business when I was 21. I'm now 31. I'll be 32 next month. I started it with nothing and turned it into a business that generates over $100 million a year in revenue. So I know a thing or two about economics. And for me, it's just so disheartening to see that our government keeps printing money, spending money with no consequence. Most recently with this massive infrastructure bill, printing over $1 trillion that we don't have. We just passed, as I'm sure you know, a $1.5 billion budget bill. This massive spending spree that our government is going on has to stop, and we have to find a way to balance our budget. If my business balances it, has to balance its budget every month and every year, and our households have to budget their personal finances every month. So should our federal government. And I think that's what's contributing to this massive rise in inflation. And so one thing I'm going to do in Congress is be a huge advocate for making sure we cut our spending and get our spending under control.
What is it that your current Congressman Schweikert, not doing when it comes to the illegal alien issue that you just brought up in the hotel, for example? Has there been any in-district effort by the incumbent to do something about this?
No, there really hasn't been. I mean, Congressman Schweikert, unfortunately, is one of the most ineffective members of Congress. And I think a lot of people in the district, as I'm traveling throughout it, know that and are starting to pick that up. And I think back to the issue of the hotel, when that opened up in our district, there was outrage across the community. And the only thing he did was send a letter. He did nothing about it. Again, it's a federal issue. And, unfortunately in Arizona, two of our senators are Democrats, and they have open border policies. And Congressman Schweikert, who's a Republican, is the other federal elected official in our district that could do something about it. Again, he sent a letter, did nothing. I've been to the hotel twice. It's literally feet from a retirement community. It's yards from a high school. And Schweikert has never even been there, to my knowledge. And that's something that, our congressman really needs to do. And it just shows kind of the abysmal failure of leadership that he has, in addition to his corruption issues, which are massive and unfortunately huge. I think our district is ready for new leadership. As I go around and travel throughout the different communities here in Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, surrounding communities, Phoenix, people are tired of these corrupt career politicians that start out in the legislature, they go to the county board of supervisors, and then they go into Congress. They want people who've done something first in their lives, whether it be in business, whether it be maybe a well-respected judge, whatever, and then run for office because they want to serve the American people, not who've just been in office for 30 years. And unfortunately, Congressman Schweikert has been in office, public office, longer than I've been alive almost. And that's just a problem, and we've got to stop that. And I think that's also why he hasn't come up with any solutions on the immigration issue here in Arizona that our citizens of our district care so much about.
Yeah, unlike some of the other states, you have some time till your primary, a fairly crowded field at this point. I see 7 candidates listed here, obviously including the incumbent. Your primary's in August. Will you debate your primary opponents, including the incumbent, Congressman Schweikert?
So to answer your question, two areas. I think there might be, because we're undergoing the redistricting process, there isn't really 7 candidates. Really, if you look into it, there are multiple candidates. There's one other candidate other than myself and Congressman Schweikert. He hasn't filed all of his paperwork with the Federal Election Commission. He's still behind on some of those reports, and he doesn't really appear to be a serious candidate. Very nice guy, I met him, but he doesn't appear to be a serious candidate. The general consensus is that this is a binary race between me and Congressman Schweikert, and I would love to debate him. In fact, last month, a couple of weeks ago, a group here in Arizona wanted to sponsor a debate, and the congressman backed out of it. I don't think he wants to debate me. So I would love to debate him anytime and anywhere. I think that the people of Arizona deserve for him to be held accountable for the things that he's done, the fraud that he's committed the money that he's stolen from taxpayers and donors. And I don't think he wants to debate me because I don't think he wants to be held accountable. But I would love to debate him anytime, anywhere. He just has to agree to it, of course.
Well, yeah, naturally that's what's required. But the point that if there was a debate offered, you would do it, which is something
Absolutely.
I'd like to see. One of the issues you have listed on your website is healthcare insurance, and whether in Arizona or anywhere else, healthcare insurance, we'll see a medical community challenged to recover from COVID in many ways. How would you approach dealing with the high cost of healthcare for many in America, the growing costs, and the government component in what's left of Obamacare?
Well, I mean, I think Obamacare has just been a total disaster. I can remember when it first got implemented, and I owned a small business, and I saw my health insurance premiums at the time. I was in my 20s, essentially double overnight. And so that's something that we've got to fix. But I think one of the things that we as Republicans don't really address is the healthcare issue. I mean, obviously, we do have problems with our health insurance system in the United States. We have a great insurance care system. But I think that there's a competitive issue. And as somebody who owns an insurance company and who started an insurance company, I think the biggest issue is the regulatory environment. I could go on for hours about it, which obviously we don't have today. But I think one of the biggest issues is if you start an insurance company, the process to doing that is so complicated. The regulatory barriers are so high that it just really deters competition in the marketplace. And one of the things that President Trump proposed in 2016 at one of the debates was allowing health insurance companies to operate across state lines. And the solution that I would propose looks something similar to that, giving companies the incentive, not the incentive, but allowing more companies to start up and reducing some of the regulatory barriers would fix a lot of problems in our health insurance system. Obviously, it's a very complicated solution. But one thing that I can bring to the table that I don't think anybody in Congress currently has is I own an insurance company. I know what it's like to have an insurance license. I know what it's like to deal with all the regulation and the red tape. And I know how that deters growth and how that deters competition. And if you look at it, we have 5 health insurance companies right now that control the majority of the health insurance premium here in the United States. And I think, again, the key is we need to deregulate, reduce some of these regulatory barriers to encourage and increase competition. And I think that will help. That's one of the big ways we can help reduce healthcare costs for Americans.
Elijah Norton, running for Congress in District 1 in Arizona. His website, nortonforarizona.com. The primary is August 2nd. And if that debate happens, Elijah, would love to see it.
Well, thank you so much for having me.